Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone. So we do have a quorum. First item is agenda review and adoption. So is there any changes or additions? No, as is. So then we just need a motion to accept the agenda for today.
I move we accept the agenda for today.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Minutes from April. Any questions, comments?
I may have a question.
Yeah.
I was not able to attend the April meeting. I traveled with my family to see the eclipse in Southern California, which was very cool. A lot of driving, but oh my goodness. But I noticed 8-3 Norwood Young America, which is the district I represent. Is that something that I should be prepared to share with the group on regular meetings?
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure. I saw that it was blank and I thought, oh no, I'm supposed to do something and didn't.
Nope, you're good.
Got
You're
it.
good.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, Paul will
If you notice
typically.
the agenda, they have us listed.
Right.
Too, but the branch manager
I wasn't
gives
sure.
the
I just
report,
thought, oh
so
shoot, that's a
yeah.
big old blank space. Okay.
I was thrown by that too,
Yeah.
the first
Thank
couple
you.
meetings, so you're good. If you'd like to add something, you always can.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, if there's no other questions, motion to accept the minutes from April.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Any public input?
I have not received any.
Okay. And we don't have anybody from Watertown coming to,
No, I think he's tied up with preparing for a council meeting tonight, so, yep.
so there's pros and cons to scheduling it.
Exactly.
Yeah, Watertown is so pretty when I drive in. I do enjoy coming out here. Okay, action items, donation policy revision. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. We did that last time, so we need to approve some youth incentives.
Correct.
For our new policy.
Exactly. So I'm going to have Paul speak to that if you'd like to.
Yeah, the specific item that this will cover that wasn't already included in what you had done at the last meeting is the 6-word writing contest in the fall for teens. That one we've, through our foundation application for funding, had set the incentive prizes at $50, $30, and $20. So we're now getting caught up to cover what's been proposed and awarded through a foundation grant.
And how many gifts are there for $50? Is that anything we can?
There are 7 grades, so each, thank you for asking. So it's a system-wide initiative. You know, a lot of things like the bookmark contest, those are done on a branch level,
Right.
although coordinated system-wide. This one actually is all the entries go into one common pool and then it's awarded each grade.
Okay.
So there are first, second, and third place for 12th grade, 11th grade, 10th grade, down through 7th, 6th.
Okay.
Yeah, middle school, high school.
Any questions for Paul?
And then everything else will come under that.
Okay. So it's an action item, so we need a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the youth services incentives.
Okay, and a second.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, I'm guessing you're next on the strategic plan?
I am. So I'm bringing to you all our strategic plan. I do want to note that leadership is meeting next week, and I'll talk a little bit. There's a few pieces that we need to just tie up with this, but most of it is here. And just to give those of you that are new at the table, just set the stage a little bit for this. So last year we launched a new 5-year strategic plan. So it started in 2023 and will carry us through 2027. And this really started under the leadership of our previous director, Heidi Hawks. Along with management team, we gathered a lot of input from our staff along the way to develop this. And so there's really 3 layers in our strategic plan. As you'll see at the very top, there's 6 main goals that directly align with the county's strategic goals. And then underneath that, or to the left, we have what are called strategies. And that's really what we worked through as a management team along with staff to develop those strategies. So those 2 components stay the same throughout this 5-year period. But each year then what happens is our teams develop strategic tasks, or sometimes we call them goals. They oftentimes directly align with our staff's performance evaluation goals as well, to really help guide our work and to keep us moving forward for the future, obviously. So what we have here in place is most of our 2024 strategic plan tasks, some of which have already been completed. We do try to be intentional about noting the progress to date and noting our implementation time frame. So as you look through it, I think some of the bigger themes, I'm not going to read it one by one here, but some of the bigger themes that may come through to you or speak to you, you'll see some continuing work surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion with our collection team, with some of our staff training and efforts with that type of work. We've got some of our programming teams, adult services, I shouldn't say some, our programming teams, adult services and youth services, targeting all ages programs and intergenerational. We've got a further rollout of our virtual library card project as we move into District 112, Eastern Carver County, some safety and emergency preparedness with staff, and then a lot of growth areas in technology as well, which I'll talk a little bit later in my director's report. But I would welcome any comments or questions from you all. There's no action needed here, but we just wanted to bring it to you to have the opportunity to review and have any discussion around it. And certainly branch managers, if you have anything to share on behalf of your teams that you've worked diligently with on this, feel free to chime in as well. Hi, Charles.
It's been a while.
It all was very interesting. A lot of new ideas there. And I especially like page 4, and I have questions about, for example, the strategy about being an engaged partner in our communities and with stakeholders such as friends and library foundations, and of course that's a very sensible thing. And I was wondering, what would a description of a program be? What was it? What were some of the ideas that you have regarding that? How would it be implemented?
Sure, absolutely. And this one is particularly coming out of adult services. I'm looking at Kevin, if you have any specific programs you'd like to highlight or partnerships.
So it's, last year there was a goal on building audiences. We've been growing our virtual audiences for programming, and so looking more at people coming into the space and just continuing to build our participation in our programs. So I think we guessed it was around 3,000 people who participated, and we're looking at like a 10% increase in that, in our participation.
Well, like one example would be what Shan did with the Alzheimer's Association, is we partnered with them to do 2 programs, and we'll repeat that this year, and maybe even add something else, or take that model and do it with another organization.
And then you were going to have at least one new program. Was that the idea? At least one program with them in 24.
We're always looking at new programs and new ideas, absolutely. We're just looking to do more for more people. And so we're attaching a number to that so that we can kind of track our effectiveness.
And it could be another example, I don't know that this is specific to it, but, you know, it could be Master Gardeners too, where that's a partnership that we have existing, but we look to say like, what haven't we offered with Master Gardeners? Or is there a location we haven't brought them to, you know, recently? Just as another example. We've done partnerships with Health and Human Services and Parks Departments, so.
We're always looking at
Yep.
those partnerships and those classes that we've created in the past that were successful. And so we want to build on that because obviously they're important to the community. And so we focus on those, build it, and then we build around that. So we're just looking at the overall picture of what we've done that we can continue to do and to expand those areas as well.
Good. And I had another question.
Sure.
Remind us what the syntactic unbound list is again.
Sure.
That next
That's all inside baseball stuff, so I apologize. It used to be when we built book lists, it was a very clunky way of doing it. And we have a new tool to build our book lists a lot easier and better, but no one knew how to do it. So the goal is to train people on the collection team to do that. So if you go to the library homepage, to the catalog, underneath it are what are called book rivers. So like the ones, I just sent in the ones for June. One's going to be on adventure stories for kids, and one is going to be on Minnesota cookbooks.
Oh, cool.
And it used to be a very bad tool that we used to do that. Now we have a very good tool to do it.
Wonderful. Let's see. I think that's it for that page.
Thank you. Any other comments or
What-
questions?
the One thing that struck me is just, you know, and I didn't read word for word, but so many are due at the end of the year. Do you have check-ins or do you break them apart so it's not all?
We have check-ins, or we try to be intentional at all of our team meetings and our management team meetings to make sure that we're on track. And I would say within the teams, that there can be checkpoints along the way, a little bit more fleshed out timeline plan, project plan, if you will. So, but I think that's, you know, that's a good comment too, to note as we move through different years that maybe you don't always want to have it all due at the very tail end of the year, but this seems to be how it happened in some cases here,
I
so,
hear you.
yep.
I was curious, like, yeah, similar to what Gwen said, a lot of it's towards the end. Is it possible that as the year continues to progress, that some of these dates can move forward, or are these going to be pretty hard, solid months that we're going to hit? So let's say you go 11/24, then you go like, oh, we got resources, I can pull that forward to 9/24, kind of a thing.
If we can get them done sooner, certainly we will, yes. We just, you know, we needed to set a deadline, and it was a 2024 goal, so it was like, we know what the last day of 2024 is, yeah.
But realistically,
I think
when
we're
you
close
look
that
at,
day.
when you look at the goals that you want to achieve, do you have enough resource right now to accomplish it?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we consider is if it's achievable when we're setting those goals, definitely. We want to push ourselves, but we also don't want to set ourselves up for failure.
Right.
So you follow SMART.
Smart goals,
Smart
yes,
goals, yes.
exactly.
Because measurable to me is always like the most important thing
Yeah.
too. It seems so broad, but that's probably behind the scenes stuff. Yeah.
Go ahead and add a couple things if I can. One of them is the use of the Libby app, and I know I'm just a broader picture, and I think it's appropriate now. Do we ever, is it within our purvey if we've got a book that's a 12-week lead time, to look at more copies for digital, constituent question, versus there's some hot books that are only available for, you know, it takes a week or two. Is it within our purvey to look at that totality list to see, do we have enough resource on the digital side?
Funny you should mention. I'm actually shooting a video on Thursday with Susan Bernstein saying, why does it take so long to get my Libby book?
Got it.
So I know exactly what to say here. Number one is that all the collection is built up by MELSA and by all 8 metro libraries. And all of us are putting lots and lots of money into this. Last year, there were 5 million holds placed. For 250,000 people, 5 million holds. So it is an insatiable beast we are trying to feed. Part of it with resources, the county commissioners gave us actually a big increase in digital, specifically for digital. So we're now spending almost 3 times as much money as we were 4 years ago. Most of that is going to service holds. It's to not buying, like we do with our print collection, trying to have, oh, here's one little book that maybe 10 people would like. Almost all of our Libby money for adults goes into holds. The other thing that we are trying to do, and part of this video is to try to educate people, when you're done with the book, don't wait 3 weeks.
Right,
Just
don't
return
let it
it.
sit there.
If you found it someplace else, cancel the hold. So we're just trying to educate the public a little bit more on how to reduce those lists. So spending more money, spending it wisely on the popular stuff. The issue though with resources is Stephen King recently had a digital audiobook. 1 copy, we have to buy every copy like it was a print book. We actually lease it, but I don't want to get into the mechanics of how we get this stuff. 1 copy was $150. So we have a model of 10 to 1. So 10 people want that, fine, $150. We get to thousands of people wanting that from Carver County, we're buying 10 copies of that. Because we have a ratio of, we get 10 holds of Carver County, patrons want it, we try to buy another copy. And keeping that ratio is really hard.
So we do have some report or some trigger that says we're out
Yes.
too far, and we get to consider, are we spend the $150 or are we not?
Yes,
Okay,
got Serena, who works for Paul, who's our ebook selector, is doing a tremendous job. We actually skewed the budget, it had been skewed a little heavy towards adult.
Yep.
We scaled it back a little bit this year, but we want to service the holds. We also have, it looks very real that District 112 is going to come up with a virtual library card, so we want to have a few more youth materials,
Yeah.
which do not generate as many holds. We will increase the budget again, but there's going to be a limit. People on the collection team every month, or twice a month, I meet with the people at the other metro libraries who do this work in collection. And all of us every month are like, ah!
Yep.
And all we do is talk about Libby.
It'd be pretty cool if Libby had an option to consider. I don't know if it would make sense, but would you like to donate a book?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna spend $150, we're gonna get another copy
Right,
of it, and
right.
everybody else is gonna benefit from it, but
Right.
that's a different day. Thank you for that. The other question that I had when it comes to the future, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. Library plays such a critical role when it comes to summer. And one of the biggest gaps within our communities when it comes to mental health, or when it comes to kids, or when it comes to resilience, and when it comes to activities, is on-ramps to summer. There's a good amount of our community that simply doesn't participate in anything because mom and dad didn't sign them up, or there's a cost barrier, there's ride barriers, and I think that library is, I always say, who does it best? I think our libraries with the reading and all the other stuff. I've cast the vision of something called on-ramps to summer, to say what would it look like as a community if we had an expectation that every second, third, and fourth grader participates in at least 2 activities in our community. And the point of that is that when you're at a softball game or you're at the library, you're not there alone, you're in community, and that community can lift people up. And so I would just respectfully ask you to consider, as you're having conversations, as an on-ramp to summer might look like a February at an auditorium or a gym or host at the library where a lot of services are present. We're present, public health is present, the softball leagues are present, the band leagues or whatever it is are present, to say, all right, let's focus on those kids that are not connected to community. And I know that the county has taken the lead on something called communities of belonging. I say communities of belonging and engagement. And we're seeing tremendous work because we want to erase that loneliness of being secluded in your house playing video games. And so I think we as a library do it great already. If we can maybe look to amplify what it might look like for on-ramps to summer, particularly for those younger groups that are looking to make early stage connections. I just wanted to throw that out. So
I had a comment going back to your first question about Libby. Does anyone know, because I don't remember off the top of my head, are we allowed to have 15 holds?
15 holds, 15 checkouts.
Right, and is that something that I actually read an article, and I should have prepared myself better, but I read an article recently about this is becoming a problem across the country because books are so expensive and and a lot of libraries are finding that they're pulling that back. They're saying maybe not 15, maybe 10. You can have 10 on hold. Is that something, I just don't know if that's something we
Actually,
consider?
there's a couple strategies that, other than spending more money, and we have to do, Carver County, for the most part, can't go rogue here.
Right.
This is a shared collection, so we have to have consensus.
Sure.
3 things are happening. Anoka is experimenting with a lucky day option.
Oh, cool.
Similar to what we
Sure.
have with that.
Mm-hmm,
We're gonna see how it works, to see if we wanna do it here.
sure.
I have a problem with it from a branding standpoint, because the Friends of the Library have built this. This is your lucky day, the Friends of the Library do this. Friends of the Library don't contribute to the Libby collection. We don't want them to, because that
Right.
money would just disappear, be lost.
Yeah.
Second thing is exactly that. Half of us want to reduce, say that's it, 10 holds, 10
Right.
books. Others would, well, people had more books checked out, they would burn through their holds quicker, and then there'd be less. So some people are, what I hear especially from my accountant at Hennepin, Gail, is she deals with people every day who are calling saying, 15's not enough, 15's not enough.
Oh, man, okay.
They want
What?
more.
To have open at one time?
Yeah, they want more holds, more books out.
Which is so funny because it's just saying I want that book. You know, it feels like
Yeah.
maybe there would be a way that in the and this is with Libby, but maybe there would be a way in Libby, like if you get one of your holds, then one of your tagged books goes on. That's I'm getting way too like into the developer mode, but okay, interesting. No, that's interesting.
Well, and the bottom line here, that answers both of these questions. Libby is a monopoly.
Yeah.
They control 80 to 90% of the market.
Yes.
And my colleagues at MELSA are very much, oh, we're going to write a stern letter. You don't write stern letters to monopolies. It doesn't, it's a waste of
Jody
time.
does.
Right.
It's so, I mean, that's part, we're dealing with a monopoly.
Yeah.
And the publishers, and publishing more or less is 5 big companies. And that's even retracting more. So you're dealing with monopolies within monopolies.
Yeah.
At a time when demand is great, because of COVID, people got hooked on this stuff. People used to come to the library, every month goes back to the cost. Every month, our increase in print has been about 4 to 5%. I mean, average through a year. Every month. In Libby, it's 20 to 30% more people using it than a year ago, which means 60% over 2 years ago. So we've, again, doubled and more than doubled our use in 4 years.
Right.
I have a question. So you mentioned that the books on Libby are leased, right?
Yes.
So is there's a fixed finite period it's leased for, or is it paid every month?
It's, no. It's, you pay up front, and then
Right.
you're basically leasing this book for either so many circulations or so much time.
Okay.
Then
So if-
you can also get something called simultaneous. There's like 4 or 5 different ways.
Right.
But the main thing we buy, I believe, I can't remember if it's by circulation or by year.
Right. So let's say if you like one book is really popular right
Yeah.
now, and there's so many people on hold, so you end up leasing a lot.
Yeah.
Let's say after 2 years, the interest on that book wanes. Do you release the lease?
It's like if we buy a bestseller, once
Right.
you've committed to it, we've committed to it.
Okay. Because if you have 10 copies and everybody stops reading it,
Yeah.
do you after when the lease is done or whatever period is done, do you just release it so you don't have
We
to
would
release
not
it?
repurchase as many copies.
Okay. Got it.
Which is
So it
different.
just saves you over time,
Right.
in the long term, as books wane off their
Yes.
interest
Yeah.
from. Right, okay.
I was just gonna ask, do you get data from MELSA or Libby about usage in MELSA? I mean, I'm just curious. I know Carver County is smaller than Hennepin,
Oh.
but just by county, is
Yeah.
there any?
Yeah, we can produce any data you want.
Yeah, I'd be
Nelsa has
kind of curious
fantastic, Libby has really good reporting tools. I just looked at an old report, I'm gonna rerun it this year by zip code. And actually in Carver County, Chaska, the Chaska zip code is the #1 Libby followed by Chanhassen, followed by Waconia, followed by Victoria. So it's kind of mirrors our print circulation.
Okay.
One report I looked at, of course, when you look at net, we're last.
Yeah,
But when you look at per capita,
yeah.
we're right in the middle
Okay.
in most everything. And how much money we spend, what percent of our budget, what percent of our patrons use Libby.
Well,
Not running ahead, not falling behind yet. Right in that meaty middle.
go relax, just right. Well, my sister, who has moved around a lot and gotten different library cards, has like 3 different Libby's for different library accounts too, so.
They're trying to crack down on that. That's like sharing your Netflix.
She
But
goes,
people
I
in
got it
Metro
right.
do that. I mean, we have a staff member who has like Libby access through all 8 libraries, because she's registered her card with all 8 libraries, and so she has 15 times 8 holds.
Oh, wow. That does seem like that one.
And so that's one of the other
Great.
strategies we're looking at is under MELSA, we want to keep access open.
Well, I didn't know that was a bad thing, because I have Scott County, and I have Dakota County, and I have Hennepin County. I know, I didn't know, I'll delete them all, you guys.
It's an awareness.
I really will, I didn't know.
No,
I just
it's
figured,
totally
because they're all
legal.
MELSA.
But no, it's
So,
totally valid to do.
it- Well,
Well, part of
I get it, but now being an insider, I will
But
like,
you get
remove
to
those
more chance
cards.
of getting the book though.
I do have a really long hold list, and I'm like, that's so weird. Aren't I
Well,
only
then
supposed
the
to have
other
15?
thing about holds that's really hard for people to understand, it took me a long time to get my head wrapped around it. You're number 1 on the list for a book.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you're still number 1, but it's been 12 weeks. How are you still number 1? Priority goes to the library system who bought the book.
Right.
Interesting.
So if
Okay.
the book was purchased by Hennepin, you're number 1, you're a Carver County patron, suddenly a Hennepin County person gets on the list, bam, they get it.
Got it. Okay.
But
Okay.
it goes
By
the same way to
Interesting.
You're 62 on the list, and the hold that becomes available is the Carver County, you jump all over those 62. So when you
Interesting.
put that hold on, it is a estimate at best
Right.
of how long. So that is the problem with having lots of bestsellers, and we had some smaller books that maybe people would get those books a lot quicker.
Right.
We're still trying to figure it out. We think we're doing good, but we can do better.
I think you're doing great. The Women is a very popular
that's
book.
ridiculous. That's out of control.
It's out of control. But I did put it on my hold, a couple months ago, whatever. And then I just bought it, right? I just
Yeah.
bought it on Apple Books or whatever. And so today it was like, oh, you skipped the line or something like that. And I went in and I was like, I don't need it. But I was like, I wonder what it means to skip the line.
Huh.
Yeah,
Do you have an Anoka County copy?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
Well, maybe one of the other people are experimenting with Lucky Day, then last I heard it was only Anoka.
Okay.
That's what
just
I
was
thought
like-
too.
Well, I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna mention when it comes up and you move it back.
But maybe that's a
Save for
Carver
later.
County copy.
Oh,
That always
Maybe-
makes me
maybe
feel
it
Sounds
was.
like they
that-
found out you're on the library.
How would they even know?
There's perks, baby.
But I already read it, right? So I'm like,
Maybe your
cancel, give it to
account is
somebody
flat.
else, I don't need it, but
Thank
yeah, it was
the
so
Women
weird.
by Kristen Hanna.
Yeah,
I mean, I could pull it up, but I think collectively, we own over 1,000 copies.
sure.
Wow.
In the Twin
In
Cities.
the Twin Cities.
Good for her.
Yeah, right?
How much is that book? $100?
Easy, yeah.
So she made 10 grand.
Well, maybe not
Not her.
the audio version is. Well, I can also tell you as an author, no, she did not.
That's right.
She got 10% of it.
That's right.
Right.
Or less.
Yeah.
I used to do school visit, people go, what? You wrote the book and you get 10%? It's like, welcome to publishing.
Yeah.
Well, that new Emily Henry is like 100 people on the hard copy list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also have, in fact, that was one of the, I think it was last year's goals, is we sat down and we looked at all of our ratios that force us to buy another copy. Over 5 copies of the print, unless there's some really weird reason, we try to make it always 5-to-1. But we also drew a line and said, but no more than 25. There's just a limit, because after time, as you were talking about, with a
Right.
print book, in 6 years, what are we gonna do with 25 copies of this in a
This
6-branch system?
Goes to the book sale.
Right.
I was gonna say that's book sale.
But at the same time, people have already read this book, so they don't want it, so it goes to
Right.
free day.
No, I wait. I don't need to read them right
All
away.
right, so I'm sorry, I went on too long about Libby. I want to make sure I throw my
It's
thoughts.
really helpful because it really is.
I wish Susan would have just been here to film this, then I don't have to go to Victoria.
She can splice the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the strategic plan, Taff? So,
So I do have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as the year progress, are we going to see the same plan every month and then we'll see which ones are done? Because I see some of them say it's done. So do we see that or not?
I guess I would open that question to all of you. If you
Well, that, I was-
typically,
it was
we've
going
only,
through my mind, quarterly maybe,
Sure.
updates
Yeah.
would make more sense?
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
that seems
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
we can do that.
Okay, Jody, you want to move into the budget and your report then?
Sure, absolutely. So looking at our current budget, I do want to note a couple of things on, it would be on the second page, they're double-sided here. There's two line items that look well beyond budget, under technology special projects and under the summer reading program. So there's 500-2408-6260 professional and technical fees for services. Says it's 365% over budget. And that is not the case with our new Envisionware RFID project that we just implemented last week. We have funds from MELSA, and we just haven't done the budget amendments yet to kind of switch that around in the budget. So that is the reasoning for that particular piece. And then a couple lines down under 8001-6379, other miscellaneous expenses. This is under our summer reading program, and it's at 795%, but that's because it's a pass-through account. So some things just haven't hit the budget correctly there yet. So not to panic. Those will all get corrected by finance in due time. So just thought I would note those. Otherwise, nothing else major to note today. We're looking fine at this point of the year, but certainly any questions that anyone might have, I can try to address or answer later.
Are you fully staffed right now?
We have one open position in Chaska right now, associate librarian, which we're in the midst of trying to fill that position. But otherwise, yes. Don't say that out loud, too. Yeah, knock on wood. No.
Okay, thanks, Jody.
Yes.
And do you want to go to your director's report, or is there anything on circulation?
I didn't have anything to note on circulation unless Patrick did on behalf of collection, or otherwise I can launch into the director's report. You all should have a summer reading program brochure. This year's theme is Adventure Begins at Your Library, and a huge shout out to our programming teams and liaisons for all the work, the planning they did for this. It looks like a very exciting summer. It's going to be very busy, but a lot of exciting things happening. So yeah, I just encourage you to look through that. Of course, this is all available on our web calendar on our website as well. And Susan Bernstein does a lot with our social media to promote programs as well. So it's going to be an exciting summer ahead, for sure.
Should you be advertising Libby right in the
I know, right? Like, maybe we don't want to talk about Libby anymore. Just kidding.
So that will begin June 1st, and I know that some of our librarians are out and about doing outreach, school outreach, to get the word out to students and families to try to promote that. Absolutely, so spread the word and welcome people to join us for a great summer at the library. let's see, what else I wanted to note. We had an all-staff meeting last Friday. We do those 3 times a year, half-day training, so we had that. Last week, also, we had a lot of technology changes happening all at once. New RFID hardware and software, so if you've been into any of our branches, you may have experienced the new self-checkouts. So that was very exciting to see that project finally come to fruition. So welcome your feedback on the new setups. But so far, I've been hearing positive feedback from patrons. It's just getting to know a little bit different technology, but seems pretty streamlined to get used to. So it's exciting. So we had that. The new MinLink platform launched. We also migrated all of our library phones over to the county network, which is still a little bit a work in progress, shall we say. So we have all new phone numbers, and then we also have all new email addresses or a new domain that switched over, which I believe Susan Blatz noted in her email to you all this past week.
And what was the reason for that?
For the email change?
For all of it changing, just to
So.
get better support from,
Right, better support from county IT, and so that for the phone system. So essentially, I mean, one of the, I guess, to me, one of the big pieces is we're able to transfer calls between branches, essentially. I mean, that's one piece of the customer service that we would look to, and then again, that support from county IT when we have challenges,
so prior to this, you had to just dial the
Right,
digit
so.
number to call Paul or something.
Yep, the only 2, let's see, admin and Victoria were the only 2 that were on the county network. Everyone else was operated by their cities.
Okay.
So,
I'm thankful for it. I mean, it's been a bumpy road, the transition, but I'm confident, they'll get us there. This branch was an example of where we most desperately needed to move beyond the phone system that we were on. The city would only pay for 1 line, and I mean, it takes nothing in a public library to keep 1 line going, so the customer service element of it, where people were calling in and then getting put into a voice message environment, and
Do we still have people that would call to reserve a book or renew a book?
oh yeah.
Really? A lot?
I'd say that's probably, my time on the desk is probably the most common phone call.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And, yeah, so with good
I always
customer
mostly
service,
like-
we just walk through that with them.
People in their 80s and 90s.
No, it's just some people still use like some people still use faxes. Like nobody uses faxes now, but I have systems that I run. It's like, do they use faxes? Yes. I said, really? Who uses fax?
Well, on that one I can answer, and that is people who are working, doing.
Medical or government.
Yeah, there's all kinds of government reporting that requires people to fax in time cards and other reporting. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. We don't receive very many incoming,
Right.
right?
They will come.
Fortunately, because that was actually one of the
So
casualties.
how much do we charge for outgoing fax?
50 cents a sheet. I mean, we don't charge for cover sheet.
But for domestic numbers, right? I mean, if they try to do it international numbers, that would just be bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you went through this before, but I was surprised when I first walked in with the RF. I mean, they're huge.
a much different model, yeah.
So it's just like, it looks like an ATM machine or something that you're standing, but yeah, it took me a little while to figure out where to put my barcode for the card. But I figured it out.
One of the nice features that I like about it is they're customizable too, so we're able to promote programs, or you may have noticed that like the
Okay.
branch photo is featured on the screen, if I'm remembering this all correctly. So that's gonna be really nice for us as well,
Yeah.
so.
Good.
And a lot of people keep their library card on their phone. They've taken a picture of the barcode, and these new machines will read that. The old
Okay.
ones wouldn't.
Good idea. I started doing this, just carrying it right there.
Yeah.
I always have my phone with me.
It used to work in the app, in the Carver County app. Does that still work? Can you scan your barcode from the app? Okay.
Mm-hmm, yes.
That's how I did it.
Thanks.
Okay, so Nick's not here.
Correct.
We do have, well, any other questions for Jody first on her report? On it? Okay, then we will go through the branch reports. Patrick, you're at
Sure.
first.
Sure. If you want to turn so you can see the pictures, I'm going to annotate to the Chanhassen section, May 2024 Chanhassen Victoria Board Report. The first picture is from our Chanhassen Library book sale, $3,100, a little less than last fall, which I think is probably perhaps explainable by the demise of the two newspapers, the Chaska Herald and the Chanhassen Villager, who always helped us promote the book sale, always ran a column where we would mention it occasionally, we put it on the front page. They did not support that in their dying days, and so we did not have that publicity. When you turn then to the next page are two special story times. We do regular story times every week, but then we do some special ones. The Earth Day story time is an example of what Kevin was talking about with programming. This is done with, who's Maryland work for?
Water management.
Water management. There's an Earth Day story time, and then our children's librarian at Youth Services librarian at Victoria sponsored an art story time. So I thought those were fascinating. And then my last one is actually not from the Victoria Chanhassen report, it's from the director's report, is we got a little bit of extra money to spend on, that we saved in magazines, because magazines are dropping left and right. And then also we dropped some because they weren't being used because people were not used to them. So we got about $2,000 extra. And we're going to spend about $500 of that, maybe a little bit more, on STEM materials for older kids. We did a really good job with the Dalkey grant of buying lots of preschool stuff, but we didn't do a lot for older kids. So we're going to spend some STEM money on that. And the other, we're going to go to District 112 once we get the virtual library card in place. And with the middle school librarian, we're going to sit down with Linda to sit down with some kids and say, we have some money to spend. What would you like us to spend it on? And so we'll save that money, and so they have some real engagement with the process of developing this collection. So those things come out of the collection team.
Kevin?
So leading into summer, we're in full swing with outreach to the community, and on the front page of mine is one of the bigger ones. El Dia del Niño is the Day of the Child in Spanish, and so there was a big celebration at La Academia School in Chaska. Over 600 people came through, so great opportunity for Jennifer and Jeff, who went in to represent the library and talk about what our offerings are. We've hosted several biking programs leading up to a big community bike ride where we've been kind of teaching about all the bike trails, all the walking trails, and the whole plan that Chaska has around those. We've had a weekly, what we call craft and sip, where we make some coffee and some tea and set it out, and make some art materials available for people to, just enjoy their time in the library. And superhero activities, book bingo, and some other fun hero activities have been going on at the library last month.
I'm laughing at the high school cast signing autographs.
That's a big deal for those high schoolers.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I've been so focused on typing here, I'm having a complete brain cramp. So Jody and I tonight, we give a presentation to the state of the library to the Watertown City Council Monday night in Waconia. And then in about a week after that, Norwood Young America. So looking forward to those. Coming up soon, and a special day that I think you're all aware of, but I'll highlight it, and that is out at Norwood Young America branch on Saturday, June 1st, is a collaborative event with community partners at Chamber of Commerce. And so they hold out on Elm Street, think Main Street, in front of the library. Will be blocked off, and will be food vendors. It's called the Artisan Fair, Springtime Artisan Fair. And so the goal of that primarily is not food, but is art, vendors and people like that. There will be a car show and some other things like that. So inside the library, whether it's rain or shine, we'll host a quilt show. We've been doing that for the years that this event has been going on, and we'll also be fortunate this year to be hosting Twin Cities Public Television. They've done this the past several years, where through MELSA, right, they've made the connections between the libraries and TPT to come out to a couple of the libraries in the metro area. And they seem they like coming to Carver County. One, I think we treat them well, but two is they're intentionally trying to get out beyond their regular metro area and out further west. So we'll be hosting it this year at the Norwood Young America branch, and we'll capitalize on the energy for that day. And so one of their superhero costumed characters will be at the library. And so it should be a good day, as well as the Friends book sale. And noting that with the book sales, when we can, we try and schedule them when there are other community events going on. So this past month here at Watertown, this room, that room, and the room further down, the city council chambers, those accordion movable walls were opened up, and this was a big community garage sale, whatever you call it, so we had our library book sale spanning that Saturday, and it was probably one of our best spring book sales for this branch. Nowhere near $3,000 like Chan, but certainly a good income for the Watertown Friends. So, and then this Saturday at Waconia is book sale, first of 3 at that branch for the season. And we are connected with Sentence, the community service workers from Sentence to Service through the county. And I think probably the other branch managers, maybe you'd concur, or maybe your friends groups are in have more robust volunteer crews, but we struggle with the setup and breakdown that's involved in book sales. It's a significant amount of lifting. The trays of books, roughly 30 to 50 pounds each, and if you do 50 of those, that's a lot of lifting. And so typically, and I can say this because I'm in that demographic, as many of our friends of the library people are people at or around retirement age, and so there's a limited amount of that kind of lifting that anybody's going to be able to do. So certainly for a big book sale like the Waconia one, we really need community service workers to do the heavy lifting. If you've ever seen the back room where all the books are stored, it's getting things down off of a very top shelf, working off of a ladder. So book sale season, here we go.
For a minute, I thought you were describing Chaska's, just like that.
Yeah, I'm sure all of them are the same, and we.
Yeah, we thought we had a Boy Scout troop coming to help, and that kind of fizzled out.
And that's, we make those arrangements, and it's hit or miss sometimes with National Honor Society students. When they come, they're wonderful, right? The NHS crews have been some of the best in terms of energy and just, one set of directions and they're off and running.
Right.
But it comes and goes as to where they are, and then during the summer is many have other things going on. But lots of good stuff. And then summer reading program for the youth services team. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all the dedication you put into reporting everything that takes place in our 3 libraries. It's just such valuable information to know.
Thank you, Jen, I appreciate it. It helps me with planning each month. It's kind of like another way of going at the strategic planning checklist in a slightly different angle. But it's really for me, it's the time well spent as manager to go through that level of detail.
I'm
Thanks for
excited
reading it.
to see that you're getting your blinds in Laconia.
I can't wait, yeah. And
Saw that.
that's going to be a project we'll weave in sometime during the summer.
Yeah.
And thanks to the Hoffman Family Foundation grant as well as the Friends of the Library.
So, Matt, did you have some other updates?
MELSA's later this week. We have an interim director that will be installed. The executive director of MELSA is retiring, Scott, after 3 years, so there's all that stuff. Still waiting to see the ink on the paper for the final law change, if that actually comes to fruition with the omnibus. It looks promising that they'll lift that requirement for a degree and make it more open and available, not inconsistent to what Governor Walz signed into law in October, making 75% of state jobs available to people that don't have degrees to apply for. So I think that's a win. We often talk about things of equity and inclusion, and actually doing it takes a little bit of political power. And so we're looking at that. And then, we're coming out of that period of time where we've got a formula change. Jody was part of that, others as well. It hadn't been changed in 20 years. And when the dust settled, it actually benefited Carver County. That wasn't our intention, but there's a lot more money coming back to Carver County for use here. And those are jam-packed things just in the last 6 months in MELSA. The executive director search post-interim will take a lot of energy. And so Lori Halverson is kind of leading the charge on that. Not only is she a former lawmaker, but really passionate in the space. And so lots going on at MELSA, and it'll be an interesting jam-packed meeting on Thursday.
Okay, Jan,
Oh,
updates from Foundation?
Yes, I did. I attended the Library Foundation of Carver County on April 11th. There were 7 people present. 4 of the 6 board members of the foundation attended, and Jody, ex officio, and Jackie Hayes, a bookkeeper. Various business items were discussed. I won't run them all by you because this meeting will get long, but such as a new checking account was moved to the hometown bank in Carver County. However, the body of the whole meeting focused on fundraising. Of course, that's why we all meet. The tote bag that you might remember Jody showed us at the last meeting, and in all of the libraries, there's a sign like this, encouraging people to buy that big, beautiful tote bag. It retails for $10, but we are selling it for $3. And you might wonder, why are we selling it? It is one of their fundraisers. It advertises the critical role of the that the Library Foundation plays in the robust summer reading program, and they want to call attention to it, and all of the much, much more things that the foundation supports. Each library has 20 of those, and I was wondering if they have sold in your library.
We sold out of Waconia.
Oh, out. So there probably aren't any more to sell at the, we have some May and June book sales coming up. Well,
And I think Chanhassen has sold out because we've sent a few extras along the way to Chan. I don't know where Chaska sits, but
I don't think we're out, but they have been selling.
yeah. So,
and then they reserved 20, so you might look into it to see if there are any left.
So were there any pushed out, not just to Waconia, but to like here and young America? Did they have opportunity to buy too, or did they?
yes, they got pushed out to all 6 branches.
Oh, so every one of them had 20?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought it was Waconia had 20.
But when they're out, is what you're saying.
They did not say anything more about ordering more, but I will look into that, of course. The idea was to get one fundraising project up and running before adding another. An additional plan was to advertise the foundation, was to design a bookmark, perhaps placing them near the whole book shelves, or adding information to this, which you've seen in your libraries, which lists all of the upcoming book sales for 2024. And then just listing up here the purpose and existence of the foundation. Then we had a discussion about GoFundMe, an account that many library foundations use to raise funds for their projects. It links to PayPal, and it would be, of course, linked to the library site. The ask letters for donations are sent out 3 times per year to all service organizations. And there was a need expressed to expand the existing ask letter that goes to all businesses and individuals. And we were at the end of the meeting asked to think about possible events that would raise funds to continue to support the programs and services not funded by local tax dollars. I am definitely looking forward to meeting again with the supporters of the foundation, the members. They truly are serious in serving, meeting your dedicated library's requests. The next meeting is July 11th. Their meetings only last for 1 hour.
You meet every 2 months or every 3
What
months?
did he say?
How often do you meet?
4 times per year.
So,
Books, regarding book sales, and I don't know if you can use this information, but, you know, I've been doing it a long time. And we tried some different things, like, you know, at the grocery store, when you, would you like to round up, you know, and, but Amanda, who's kind of has a marketing brain more than I do, all she did was put a little sign on our money box that says, "Thank you for your donation." And I have noticed, you know, when I've been working, a big change where people are like, you know, just round it up to 5, or, you know, I don't know if people are feeling more generous, or if that little sign kind of reminds them, yeah, this is a donation or whatever, but, you know, maybe pass it on to the other friends group. It seems, I don't know, I mean, nothing scientific about it, but it does seem the last couple sales when we've had that sign on, we've had more people throwing in another 5 or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I don't know if that helps the foundation, but it made me think of it.
No, I think it's wonderful. I made a note of it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, our communications and correspondence is gonna get pretty light in our packet here. So is Waconia the only town in Carver County that still has a newspaper then?
Well, the Patriot covers Waconia, Norwood, Young America, and Watertown.
Okay, so,
Same publisher.
so it's all up to you, Paul, to keep this.
No pressure.
Shoulders, you say.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard or not, but there's a contingent of folks that have been having conversations in Eden Prairie about a digital newspaper.
Okay,
And it'll probably take time for it to sort out, but there's, county spends about $10,000 a year in postings for RFPs or legal notices. There's a lawmaker in Scott County, I'm losing his name, Bragg Tepke, that brought legislation forward that asked for a 2-year reprieve for cities, townships, school districts, and counties. And so there's a movement that says we need to get into the digital era.
yeah,
There's pushback from, you know, the producers of print, the ink people and the print people and all that other stuff. And then there's the practical reality that, you know, these things are checks and balances for people like me, right? And so those sensitivities are being had, but I think that you'll see something emerge. Eden Prairie has a digital paper. whatever you call it. And I'd imagine that Carver County will have something like that, and those conversations are to be had. And I'm sure the library will be involved in that as well. And my understanding is you can get it like daily, or you can opt to get it like once a week.
Do you see that coming at the county level, or will you get up, do you think Chaska will start up one and Chanhassen will start up one again?
I don't know, they do a nice job at the Waconia Patriot. There's something with the formula that says if it doesn't reach so much a percentage, it's not considered a local newspaper. And so if they're less, I think the number's 20%. If their readership isn't 20%, and so there's 110,000 people in Carver County, if it doesn't get to 22,000 people, it doesn't count as the local newspaper, or something like that. There's been people that have said, well, why don't we invest in the school newspaper and resurrect it and let them do it, and we can post to the school newspaper. Well, some would say that's not professional journalism. You've got a lot of people that have different things. We'll see this play out. We're not the only community that's doing this. It's starting to get to it's in our face, but it's starting to get to the tip of the iceberg. It'll probably be solved at the federal level, because really for us, that $10,000 we spend on postings is an insurance policy to say, check the box, we did it, you know? And there does need to be public transparency, 100%. I've been the deepest throated person saying, like, it was a relief when I saw that there's not letters, you know, typically if you're an elected, you have to get letters to the editor every, you know, week for the 12 weeks leading up to an election. And as an elected, you're like, man, there's not the power of that pen. 20 years ago, you were fearful that somebody would walk in the boardroom, or so I'm told, and they might write a story about you. So it kept you honest, right? It kept you honest. And so I don't think social media is going to keep you honest, because those are not threads of journalism. But I think the number is something like 42,000 journalists no longer have a job from 4 years ago.
Wow.
And don't quote me on the number, but it's a sizable number that people are in it's professionals. They have a professional ethical standard. That professional ethical standard does not play out on social media. So a lot of things to consider. I'm sure everybody in this room has opinions, but I wanted to share that the Eden Prairie might be. Yeah.
Well, I know Jim had mentioned he was going to a meeting about that, so.
Yeah, he might have been in that contingent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to see. I get the Sun Sailor.
Yep.
I don't know how. But they've started saying it's not gonna be free anymore, so you have to pay for it.
Where is
So I
that
think-
one?
Pardon?
What city is that?
Hopkins,
It's-
Minnetonka, right?
In Excelsior.
And
Excelsior.
Hopkins, yeah,
Yeah.
that whole lower
Lake.
southwest side of Kennebec County.
Right.
My understanding is that's the official newspaper for Chanhassen now.
Oh,
And then as Scott County looked at it, and there's all these things you have to comply with. I think their paper of record is the Star Tribune. And so I think we were paying close to $2.50 a column inch for posting things in the Chaska Herald. The Star Tribune, as I recall, was like $17 per column inch.
Wow.
And it's $5, I think, now with the Waconia Patriot, which is less than what Chaska's paying for. And so we were at a leaders meeting, and all these things are playing out. And it's like, well, what are you, well, we're not, we got matched for what we were paying. Well, you were paying more.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah, right. And it's a quagmire to kind of figure out. And I think everybody appreciates having, you know, professional journalism. But do you need the ink? And at some point, as much as we love this, that'll probably go away. And 20 years ago, the people were saying we're going to get rid of print, and we moved to PDFs. And I think it was Princeton or one of the Ivies said we're going to have a zero, you know, for the earth and the footprint and all that other stuff. We're going to have no printing because we're moving to digital. And guess what? Their print budget the next year was 10 times because everybody had so much digital access and they wanted to print it all off.
No, everybody
Print's not
print
going
on their
away,
email. I see a
but
lot.
print
they don't want
newspaper
you
might.
to paper.
And then I think my understanding is the newspapers that were closed collectively, they were actually above, they were beyond break even. They just weren't making the profit margins that that company wanted to have. So there might be some viability of it. You remember it'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Victoria Gazette, which is highly opinion. But when that went away, it's like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, Sue decides she won't do it anymore. And so what's the next generation gonna look like that wants to do this stuff?
They just want to read Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and get all their news that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's our agenda. If anybody has any other last questions or comments, otherwise I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank
Can
you.
you say that?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.